I was like, I was live on the phone. That's the cool thing about this.
How are you, sis? How are you? How are you?
I am well.
You're much better at this than I am. 21st century, the 21st century thing. So part of my slow, but I'm catching up. I'm trying to keep up with you youngins.
Oh, that is okay because I am bringing you. It's almost like what's that movie? Back to the Future. I'm bringing
Yes.
you there. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
on a
cool.
spaceship and
I
we're
I
landing now.
I accept. I accept. I accept.
We are landing and we are here and we are ready
Cool,
for
cool, cool, cool.
another. So I started these, I was talking a little bit and rambling on, but I started these conversations titled Choose Your Path because
Uh-huh.
I really believe that even though we're in a pandemic, that we can take this crisis and use it for creativity.
Absolutely.
I really honestly believe that with my whole heart because I feel like I have in my own journey have created some amazing things through my pain, through my struggles, through me hitting some really crazy, what looked like roadblocks, but was
Yes,
actually
yes.
building
Well
my
put.
strength,
Well
building my
said.
character,
Well
building
said. Well
my
said.
fearlessness, right?
Well said. Well
So
said.
I am just I'm really so grateful for this conversation because I honestly believe that through conversations, it can literally change someone's whole world. Just
Absolutely.
they can hear something, you know what I mean? They're going to hear something in this conversation that they'll be able to take along on their journey. So I just want to send my gratitude to you for
Well,
you
please, thank
giving
you for
me your
having me.
time. Yes.
Thank you for
So
having me. Yep.
let's get into it.
Cool, cool.
How were you dealing with this pandemic?
Um, just like you said, I mean, we have a Rasta in Rasta, we have a phrase called word sound is power. And word sound is power. Words are spells, and old people should tell you be careful what you say and mind your mouth. And these are because they understood the power of words. So you're absolutely right when it comes to conversations. For me, it's been I believe in what the original people believe in, which is the universe and the idea of Mother Nature being in charge. So
Yes.
for me, it's what the indigenous people would do. So I see this as Mother Nature making us stop, as the planet making us stop. The Creator, God, Jah, Allah, Buddha, Eladumari, whatever you want to call her, him, them. This is a stop and this is a pause. So for me, it's been. I started off 2020 has not been bad for me. 2020 has been excellent. Every time you find yourself above ground, you should give thanks and not say things and not to put a damper on the day because it's not a damper for me because we are celebrating. The reason I'm not in my studio now is because I'm in New Jersey at my brother's because we buried him today. He's 42 years old and he had a heart attack and died. And his house is magnificent. And his children are wonderful, and his wife is a wonderful woman, and they have that life and that career and those careers in that house. And he was mowing his lawn, and he had a heart attack and died at 42.
And I'm smiling about
you
this.
understand? Yes, because this is the point. Because and that's why I'm bringing it up, and I'm glad you brought it up because it lifted me even more right now. Because the whole time as the oldest, that's what I've been walking around all day, sort of trying to remind people. Because it's been a tough 2 years for us. We lost my sister, and I'm the oldest, so I've lost two siblings in 2 years. And what it's done for me is that crack of the whip behind the heel. Because yes, as Black people, we kind of sometimes get stuck in this thing of tomorrow I'm going to do it. And don't nobody got a better list of what I'm going to do than Black folks.
No.
When it comes to realizing that you just have to jump off and do this thing and start this thing, we sort of get in this weird places. You see what I'm saying? So for me, this time, has been a time of waiting, a time of stopping. Great things happened during this time. Shakespeare wrote during the plague and created things. It's a plague. It's the planet. It's the planet making us stop. So I acknowledged it. Like I said, I started 2020 in the Caribbean on tour, which is what I want. I'm from the Caribbean. I claimed it or put it into universe quite a few years ago that I realized that my strength based, like I took my play to Broadway. I did that.
I wanted to talk about that. Since you brought that up, go ahead and
we will. I mean, but we I got the sort of accolades of that world because when you're in my world, you put the thing and you think that that's it. But I get there, and as a person who loves Africa more than anywhere and loves my Africanness, I knew that there was more to it. So then the next thing for me was I want to go bring this play to my people. So I started 2020 doing that, and then when March hit, I literally was back for 2 weeks or so, and went right from being back to realizing that I wasn't going to be able to, I was back to take 3 weeks and go right back, because the thing was starting to start a snowball. People, the word of mouth was happening, and the people on one island was hearing, and I was getting invited to the other island, and it was starting to happen just like I put it out there. And so when the pandemic hit, I guess I had that moment of, oh man, and a sort of downness and a stop thing. But then I realized I started creating. So for me, I haven't counted, but so roughly I'm going to say that I've done over 50 major paintings in the last 5 months, which is unbelievable for most painters. I've finished a children's novel that I've been working on for probably, that I started when my youngest son was 7 and asked me, Dad, why do we need belly buttons? He just turned 25 about 6-7 days ago. So it's been all those years. So I started it when he was about that age. I put it down, and so the pandemic, this moment gave me the time to go back and do that. Gave me time to go back and finish up 2 plays that have sort of been dangling in midair. So for me, it's been a super awesome, productive time to answer your question in a long-winded kind of way. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes,
No,
yes,
that's in a beautiful way. I think that you kind of touch bases on what you were dealing with, what you did with this time,
yes,
how
yes,
this time is making you feel,
yes,
and
yes.
some of the accolades that you have done. I think you embraced all of that.
Good, good. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do.
That is so awesome.
That's
Can
exactly
you
what I
tell
wanted to
us
do.
where you're from again? Like, tell me about your ethnicity. Share a little bit about your culture.
Well, I am from Antigua. It's an island in the Caribbean, in the Eastern Caribbean. It's 108 square miles. It's beautiful. That's my boy Adomir calling, chiming in from Brazil.
Oh,
Peace, brother. Peace, brother. It's just this beautiful island. I had the opportunity to grow up there until I was 11 years old, and I moved to America. So actually, this month makes 40 years I've been here in America.
40
But
years.
I had this sort of weird thing of when I got here first. It was before Caribbean culture was really vogue, so I got a lot of pushback and a lot of energy and somebody just said 10 cards said get out. I lived there for 20 years. See, I love small world. I love this, and just being here in the beginning was I didn't get embraced the way I wanted to be embraced, I guess. So instead of becoming American, quote unquote, I embraced being Antiguan even more. So I kept the patois, and I kept the culture. And as I grew and went home a lot more, I realized that I love being a Caribbean man. And there's a connection when you're from the Caribbean. And since I've lived in Africa now, I understand even the foods. And I really, really made me understand why we are so connected to Africa, almost less removed, I guess, in a kind of way, because we had it was sort of less white people kind of coming at us. So I think that's the root of my thing. And then I grew in a place where being Rasta was very important. And in the 70s, growing up in the Caribbean, Rasta was like an offshoot of the Black Power movement that Stokely Carmichael, that's Black Power here in America. He's from Trinidad. He's from my father's generation. So having him, those kind of things, they were trickling into Caribbean, and men and women were letting their afros get nappy and turn into dreadlocks. And yes. So I grew up with those people being my superheroes, and those people being the people that were talking about Africa and about being proud of having these noses and these lips and these complexions that we walk around with, that people make us ashamed of sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I come from. That's the sort of the foundation of me. And now knowing it and going to a place like Nigeria, West Africa, which is one of the most populated countries in Africa, and seeing me, my face, and my grandmother's face, and my mother's face, and my children's face on people, and realize there's nothing weird about the way I look. I look like my people. You know what I'm saying? That
nothing
to me
at all.
Yeah, that just kind of, I mean, I'm light skinned there. You know what I'm saying? So that to me makes me, you know what I mean? It makes you just love even more the fact that you decided a long time ago to, instead of allowing the fact that you look like you come from Africa be a thing of shame, to make it be a thing of this amazing pride. And I'm really glad I made that decision.
And
So
I'm also glad that you made that decision
yes,
because
yes, yes,
we've been rocking for some years on a
yes, yes, yes,
personal
yes,
level. I am
yes,
very
yes.
grateful that you did because for a long time, as an American girl such as I, right?
Mhm.
Of course, we could talk about history and that sort of thing, but we only have a little bit of time, so we won't
Right,
go.
right, right.
I won't go too deep into that. But as an American girl, I did honestly feel as I was growing up, I wasn't cute enough because I wasn't light skinned
Right,
or
right,
I
right.
didn't have the long hair that I
Yes,
like
yes.
this whole image. But you know, listening to your poems, reading that first book that I was graced to read, I felt like my ancestors, those who have paved the way in all of their struggles and things that they went through, how dare me ever be ashamed? I am a beautiful black woman,
That's
beautiful black
that's
queen. I
that's
get
the
that
key.
from your artwork. I have
That's
wrote
the
down a
key.
few words because I didn't want to forget it.
Okay.
I felt I probably could remember. Beauty. This is what I see in your art. I
Yes.
see beauty. I see music. I see love. I
Yes.
see. I'm trying not to cry. Struggle. I see racism. I
Yes.
see so many different things. I could go on and on and on.
Bless your heart, sister.
If someone gets the grace of the experience of going to gallery number 9104, did I get that right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Because I don't write down my questions a lot of times. I
Yeah.
like to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
If they get grace to have that opportunity to come to your gallery, what would you like them to experience? I don't want to say expect because we expect nothing.
I I want them to experience expression. Like I'm an artist, but you know what I'm learning now as I get older. I just turned 51. Is that um, being a teacher is what I am. I am an artist and I'm a
Mm-hmm.
poet and a performer and I'm all of these things absolutely for sure. But the thing that I am at my core that I realize now that I could not live without is being a teacher. And just what you said in the beginning, at 11-year-old, I was a 12-year-old immigrant to America. I still had a big accent. I was much darker than this. My features were not vogue as yet. And I was very insecure, super insecure. And one day in art class, David Sepulveda, an Afro-Puerto Rican art teacher, looked over my shoulder and goes, "Wow, that's a beautiful brushstroke. You must be a painter." And voila,
Here we are.
you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that for me is this thing that really drives. So I want them to have an experience of wanting to. And if I do a lot of live paintings on Facebook and on Instagram, I'm starting to get up here a lot as well.
Yeah,
And what I'm always sort of leaking into that is this thing of, especially us as African people, we need to vomit. I call it vomiting. So even if you're not a professional artist like myself, you should still go get you some paint, some canvas. You should still go get you some paper and pencil, and you can write the poems. You can throw them away when you're done. It's not about doing what I'm doing, which can be very terrifying. You know, you can ask anybody from Samuel Jackson to all the people that I've met, and they tell you about the fear of it's not natural to get in front of people and bare your heart. That's why it's such a beautiful thing to have that gift. But in the meantime, in between time, you can write it just like it's singing in the shower. You can write it
yes,
down, you can read it, and you can burn it if you want to in this sort of altar where you exercise it. And what you realize is that's why I call it vomiting when I teach, is because when you vomit, you feel better after. You get it out of you. And we are specialist African people. And it's a part of our experience at taking pain and holding it in and looking like you're fine, especially Black women. You know what
yes,
I'm saying? We are experts, and y'all are PhDs at taking pain and turning it into dinner and into holding everybody togetherness and
that's true.
into school clothes and school supplies. So we have to figure out, especially in these moments when we're now being told we can't go outside, and you just realize that more and more is coming. We have to. So that's what I want. When you come to my gallery, I want you to be inspired to investigate your art. No, you don't have to. Maybe you're not going to be Iyaba Mandingo or Jean-Michel Basquiat or James Baldwin, but you're going to be this person who realizes, you may realize that you do have this thing, because the creator gives all of us all of us this thing. It's a thing. It's like your little sprinkle of stardust, and you have it, and it's yours. And a lot of times I meet a left-handed person, I go, "You used to be an artist," and they go, "Yeah, how'd you know?" I said, "Because left hand, right brain, creative." So there was something that you did that you stopped doing because somebody either told you that you weren't, or you decided you weren't going to develop it and grow it. But there's this thing that we should mind, and if it only is your hobby, then when you realize it's an opportunity. Because when I paint, the only piece sometimes that I have is being able to go into the studio and paint. I disappear. Hours go by because and it's
No.
meditation. It's for
Yes, it
me,
is.
it's the only meditation that I have is that ability to sort of leave this plane and go into your subconscious and really start to dissect things. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, that's what I want.
What would you say to someone who um they've reached a point in life where they still don't know what their purpose is?
Well, you know what? I say it's never too late. Like, for example, in one of my teaching tools I use is a poem called Who Am I? And, you tell people they're going to write a poem. They go, but I'm not a poet. So I go, okay, I'm going to ask you 12 questions. And I just want you to write. I'm going to send this to you because this would be great for you to use.
Okay.
Um, I'm going to ask you 12 questions. And I don't want you to put the question, any part of the question in the answer. For example, when I go, when people look at you, the first question is, when people look at you, what is the first thing you think they see? So I don't want you to write, I think they see. I want you to write a child of God, my mother's daughter, somebody who's broken, somebody on the mend, a hero, somebody who sees themselves clearly in the mirror. Those were, and it's because it's about your question. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's for me. And there is a question in there where when I do this, I do a lot of kids, but when I do like adult seminars and I ask the adults, I get to like question 11, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they go, but I'm already grown up. I go, I know, but that's on you. You see what I'm saying? So for me, the thing is realizing that there's always going to be a version. Like, for example, when you were younger, you wanted to play shortstop for the New York Yankees. You can still become an executive for the Yankees at 40, at 20, 30 something years old. You can still be affiliated with the Yankees and still work for them and get that. So it's you and what your idea of the dream was. Because when I was 25, my idea of famous and successful artist was nothing like what I'm living now. You see what I'm saying? So, and
I
the
do.
only reason I got, and I remember one of my mentors saying to me,
That's
I
good.
hope you don't plan on painting paintings and making a living. And I was so hurt because this is the man who encouraged me the most. But I'm now, as the years went by and I understood what this man said to me, was what he was saying was, you better realize as a painter, as an artist, you're going to have to be very creative and create means and ways. And he was right. There's so many different means and ways that I now am devising to support myself and to bring in income on top of painting. You see what I'm saying? So he
Nice.
was 100% right. It took me
Oh
20 years
my.
to get it, but he was right.
And that's why it doesn't matter like when we get it. We can
Exactly.
be 50, 60.
Exactly.
I was just on Facebook and a lady was going live to interview this beautiful queen who just got married at 83.
That's the name of the game. My mother gave up singing. My mother is a beautiful singer, operatic, sort of an opera talent, opera gift. And she had me at 19, so she gave it up. And I pushed her and pushed her and pushed her. And I got to see my mother as a part of McDonald's choir on stage with Melba Moore, blowing everybody up. And I remember the look on her face. So you see, and my mother was in her 50s then. You understand what
Oh,
I'm
that's
saying?
so beautiful.
Those things, these things to me, I don't think it's about, I think it's about you. You know what I'm saying? Like your
Yeah.
idea of what success looks like to you, smells like to you, feels like to you. And then if you hit the plateau, then I like Will Smith a lot for his bravery. And the thing he says, and I know it's not his quote, but he's always saying it, is you shouldn't, when you know you're in that comfort zone, you should be very uncomfortable. And I don't have nothing. Like people go like, yo, how come you don't paint up? You only paint because I know I can paint already. So I want to know what else I could do. And I want to fail. And that's the thing we got to understand is it's very okay. You should be shooting for failure. Because when you shoot for failure, that means you're shooting past your comfort zone. And that to me, that means never stopping, man. Keep never stopping, never stopping.
Can you imagine? I can't even imagine if you would have listened to that person who said,
Are you
you're
kidding
going
me?
to do that. Like, I wouldn't be able to look at this and say painter,
Yeah.
poet, Writer,
Yes.
artist.
Yes.
I just call you a creative, but I'm just gonna name them off.
That's me. That's
Actor,
me. Yes.
playwright,
Yeah.
teacher. If you would embody those words, we wouldn't be graced of the beautiful gift that you have, that God has given you, that you have literally you lit it up, right? And that's the thing. It's really not about us. It's about the people. I realized that. And when I
Absolutely.
realized that, I was able to shine,
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
right? It's
So
not about us.
this is the thing that you get, because for me, like when I'm smiling as you said that, right? Because I have so much respect for each of those titles that I never it took I felt like I had to work. Like when I realized I was doing poetry, backdoor poetry. I realized I was doing poetry on stage. I realized I was a performer at it. This sister walks up to me, and she goes, "You know, my friend Deb Margoling she's a teacher. She teaches theater at Yale University. She's going to be in this one man thing. She has this play. It's a 15-minute play, a short that she's doing for this off Broadway thing. Would you be willing to go to audition?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" So I go to the audition. I walk in, and there's a bunch of people there. I'm the only black cat there. Everybody else, I see everybody else got, which I now realize is that they're she with their fate, their shot, and their bio. I have none of those things. So I go in. The woman talks me through the read through. 2 days later, somebody calls and goes, "Hi, Iyaba, they dug you. Are you willing to do a callback? Will you come back for a callback?" I was like, "Absolutely." As soon as she hangs up the phone, I call one of my actor friends. I'm like, "Yo, what is a callback?" He's like, "Yo, you clown. They liked you. They want you to come back for a second."
You come back.
I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" So now I go back to the second one, and I get the gig. I start performing, and I realize I love it. So Laura Bennett, she's the director. One day during rehearsal, she goes, "Everybody Googles each other in the business. I'm sure you know that." So she goes, "I Googled you. You're a painter." And I go, "Yeah." So we over lunch we're doing that. So we go back after lunch. We go back to rehearsal, and we're rehearsing, and she stops me and she goes, "Iyaba, not orange, red." And the light goes.
That is so
You understand what I'm saying? Because I know paint. I know paint. So when she says not orange, red, that's the rest of the other 6 weeks of rehearsal. That's what she did. She's like, "Nah, not that color blue, not that color blue, not happy blue, a gray blue, a down." And I'm like, and to be able to make those connections and do that, and then have the thing, and then now grow and realize, okay, I can write something to perform, and then take that and turn that into my piece, which I did, is. So for me,
mind blowing.
I always had to get to this place because James Baldwin is a writer. So before I could call myself a writer, are you kidding me? You understand what I'm saying? August Wilson is a playwright. So before I could call myself a playwright, you understand? I had to really feel like I embodied the thing rather than studied it. Like I understood. You know what I mean? Like I embodied the idea of what this. So that to me is the goal. I think is to sort of embody the thing and not necessarily just like study it, because then when you embody it, then you know it's something that you can't not do. And to me,
I absolutely love that word, because I use that word a lot. And you always, and I believe too that you already have to be that person before you become.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I was talking to I don't know if you've seen the series The Shy, but I was talking to
I've seen pieces of it.
You have? Okay. A couple conversations ago, I was talking to one of the actors that was on the show. Her name is Miriam Hyman, and she was on season 3. And I think her character name is Dre. And we were talking about, I reached out to her because I really felt like she embodied that character so much that I felt like she was that character.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like she really, I was like, she literally took the words off of the page and brought them to life.
Yes.
Is that what we experience for this one? I mean, to do a one man.
Yes.
State, let's talk about that.
Well, again, and it's the universe, and I have a friend, I have first of all, I think it's important to surround yourself with people who are lifting you up. And I was blessed to have like a circle of friends that I met in 1980 when I got here. That's still my core group of friends. And one of them, Terrence, who's also a brilliant writer who hasn't shared his work because he's very introverted, but who's brilliant. he always said, man, whenever you work towards your destiny, the universe conspires to help you. So these are the things that happen. So the way it happened was I was a poet over here and I was a painter. You know, went to school, I got to paint the thing, and I have friends who knew me as a poet who didn't know I was a painter, and the other and friends who knew me as a painter didn't know I was a poet. And so I decided I'd put the two things together. So, you know, man, 98, something like that. I do it for the first time, and Sean Combs that's time he had Justin's in Manhattan.
Yeah.
One of my boys, Cool Breeze, he produced it, and we do it for the first time. I go up there, all my friends come, we pack the place, and I do it. You know, 2 hours, me doing poetry and painting. I get finished, and my friend Patrick Coker, who's a brilliant director and writer, he comes up to me afterwards. He goes, "Man, that was crazy. I cannot believe that you can paint and do poetry at the same time, but you just broke the #1 rule of theater." I was like, "What was that?" He said, "Man, you had your back to the audience the whole time." So I'm like, uh-oh. So me right away, I'm like, okay, so you coming up to the house. I'm gonna give you that painting that you love. You're gonna come up to the house for the next couple of weekends, and you're gonna give me my first lesson on being an actor. And he started that whole process. So this is for me, it was like this very sort of organic thing that sort of just grew to the point where I realized that this is something that we can do. And I think a lot of Black children, Black and brown children, we're very tactile. We learn touching. We can get up. If we get up and engage the thing, you know what I'm saying? As opposed to having a teacher tell us it and memorizing it, we upload it. So for me, that's what the process was. That was the beginning of it. But then the universe kept putting people in my world. You know, my manager and a wonderful friend, Thomasina McClendon, her brother is Forrest McClendon, a Tony nominated, Olivier Award winning actor, Broadway actor, and he's been Olivier Award is the equivalent of a Tony in England, and he's won. You know, so I have access to these type of people. Ruben Santiago Hudson, another person who was, you know, wish me happy birthday. This past
Like, yes, sir.
Awesome people, you know what I'm saying, who you see, and because you're in awe of them, then you realize they're regular people. Not only regular people, they have this same thing I'm talking about, which is he ain't heavy, he my brother. So, you know, they're just human beings when you meet them. So I'm talking with Forrest about the play, and he says, there's a part in the play where I talk about the kid me, the way 11-year-old me responded when my mom said we were moving to America, and I didn't like it. And he stops me as I'm doing it during the rehearsal, and he goes, "Iyaba, let me ask you something. Now, is that Kenny, which is my name my mother gave me? Is that Kenny doing that play, Mommy Me No Longer America, or is that Iyaba?" He goes, and I go, "It's Kenny." He so then why is Iyaba doing Kenny's play, Kenny's poem? And in that second, it dawned on me that, yeah. So now I call Mommy and I'm like, "Mom, what was I like at that age?" You said you were always fidgety with your hands. And that's how Kenny came out. And the minute I realized that I could bring Kenny out, have Kenny and Iyaba have a conversation, then it was my grandfather showed up and my grandmother showed up. And these people, it wasn't like, you know, makeup didn't come out and change me into my grandfather.
Right.
Like the essence of him, like the way he would talk with his shoulder over, and his sort of colloquialisms, all of those things came back. And so it was easy now to start playing these people from all these different positions and realizing they came out, and it just kept growing. And then I had a wonderful director, Brent Buell, who was a good director, but a brilliant teacher. And he's the one that taught me things like using your diaphragm, coming from your diaphragm, and sort of diving off and embracing the roles and allowing the emotion to happen. Because the art of acting is not acting, which sounds like a misnomer, but it's the truth. So rather than fake crying, if there's a moment that calls for your character to be crying, then just go into your life. Remember something that makes you cry and bring that to the thing, so that
yes.
happens. You see what I'm saying? And I remember, you know, again, Elijah's son, another brilliant actress whose play did win all of these big awards. She played 27 people in her play, and I remember asking her, "How do you play Taekwon?" And talking to Shaniqua, knowing that Elijah's son, she's going to show up. She's like, "Well, I don't do that. I just play Taekwon, knowing that I'm trained and I've given my process enough respect and practice so that when it's time for her to show up, she shows up." And the first time that happened on stage, I almost cried, because it does. When you discipline, the thing happens. You realize all of a sudden you split and you realize that you are doing this thing. And it's for me, being a Black man in a world that wants me to be very quiet and to right, and to
Hmm.
just sort of wear the veil, like the mask, like Paul Lawrence Dunbar wrote about 100 plus years ago, and it
Yes.
just that just grins and bears, and to be able to discover the stage is freedom. Is the only freedom outside of being in the ocean in the Caribbean or being in Africa. The only time I've ever felt free in this hemisphere in America is when I'm on stage.
I think that is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
When I was in the seventh grade, I had a teacher bring me home with her
Uh-huh.
family and take me to. We went to a play, and
Uh-huh.
ever since that play, it was like a musical. Ever
Yes.
since that, I was hooked because I love to be the spectator. I love to be the one in the audience, and I love to see everyone on stage in their
Mhm.
character, in their, oh my gosh, in their poise. And you can just feel the energy, like the energy, the frequency that gives
Yeah,
off the
man. Yeah,
stage is
man. Yes,
amazing.
it is, and I haven't done any movie or any camera stuff, but the stage, which is what all of my friends who are actors and performers now, we are going through withdrawal because it is, for lack of a better way of putting it, for an adult, let's take an adult point of view, it is better
Uh-huh.
than sex. It is better than sex. How is it better than sex? When you make love to somebody and it's amazing, hours afterwards, just like bliss. And the next morning you wake up, you're like, good morning. And it's so, you
Right.
want some coffee and you're just so blissful for 24 hours. You're just like, la, la, la,
Yeah.
la. The stage, a month later, you can still be like, la, 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 la. It's amazing. The pheromones that fly off in your brain with that symbiotic relation between you and the audience, it is
Yes.
absolutely addictive. And for us as we're naturally we're naturally actors. Black people, we are. You understand what I'm saying? We because we got to. I mean, we wake up every. We got to pretend we like so and so at the job that we don't because we can't lose our job.
We don't
So
want to lose
we
the
got to
job.
pretend that right. We go to school. We got to pretend that we're not the nerd. Like I'm a nerd. I was a nerd and I hid it for years and years. We got to pretend that we're not nerds because nerds are corny and nerds are da 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 da.
That's
We
true.
we are born actors and we're so good at it that we actually forget sometimes the real person, and we start becoming all of these sort of things that we invent, which sort of doubles back to what we were talking about, is the idea of just sort of diving off and just being brave enough to just realize it when you jump, man. Like I'm not a big Steve Harvey fan, and
Hmm.
I know it's not his phrase, but I love the way he sort of shone the light on it by the way he put it, and the idea of you have to go to that cliff and you have to realize that the creator gave you a parachute, and the only way it's gonna open is if you jump, and you have to jump, and when you jump at the beginning, it's going to feel like you're falling because life is falling. You don't know. My brother got 42 years. 2 years ago, I realized my sister got 45. I'm 51 years old. To be the oldest, it's a very weird thing to try to get your head around. But this is the truth. So it behooves you to jump. You see what I'm saying? Because what you realize is, which I have realized, is that the parachute does open and the fall becomes this wonderful, beautiful,
That's
graceful
what I hear.
descend. You understand what I'm saying? So that's to me is the thing, because what you realize is one day you realize that you're still at the edge of the cliff, and time has elapsed amazing amounts of time. Your youngest child is now 25 years old. You now have an entire chin of gray hair. Your dreadlocks are moving back on your forehead. All of these things you start to realize that, and you can't, like, I can't tell you when this started happening. I know that my father on my mother's side, this is what the men do. On my father's side, this is what the men do. And here I
Oh,
am, and it's starting to, so you start to realize that I don't feel like a dog is chasing me, but I feel like my destiny is calling. You know what I'm saying? So every day I wake up with this sort of very, very focused idea of knowing that I have this reason why I'm on the planet. And my job for today is to move 24 hours closer to that. And I think everybody, especially us who come from under so much before we get to this place where we can see the sun and inhale and take a breath and go,
yeah.
okay, I want me some of this. You know what I'm saying? It takes us so long because of the things that are on top of us, the baggage and the family legacy and the family, sometimes the things that feel like a family curse, which is the family legacy, and all of those kind of things, to overcome all those things and like get to this place where you're like, no, I came on the planet for a reason, man. It's a very, very clear reason why, my mother was so scared of my grandmother that she tried to not have me, and trying one time too many scared her. And so she decided she was going to tell my grandmother and take the butt whipping. And here I am.
And here
So
you
to me,
are.
yeah, I'm always aware. And something else you said that I'll touch on is we literally do that. When you hear the phrase, I'm the hopes and the dreams of the slaves. Well, a lot of people were captured Africans. They weren't slaves. You dig what I'm saying? And when you're in that place, if you ever hear like the Holocaust survivors, they lived on their hope. And so our ancestors died on that hope that one day in a place that told them they didn't want anything, that their descendant Sherontelle and their descendant Iyaba could be on Instagram talking. And nobody could tell us that we're ugly or we're not supposed to be up here or who we think we are. And we come from people who could never have contemplated this. You see what I'm saying? So I'm always aware that we literally owe some people the sacrifice of their sufferation to put us here. You don't get to say, I know I'm good at sewing, but I don't feel like it, girl. No, you need to go sew.
You
Or
gotta
you need
do
to go
it.
sing, or you need to go dance, or you need to go direct, or you need to go act, or you need to
Yeah.
go, because that gift is in your DNA, which means there's somebody in your family who knew that they were a poet, who knew that they were a dancer, who knew they were a singer, and they also knew that their family picked peas for a living. So they were never going to sing. So they had to sit down now and pray and hope one of these days, I hope that maybe one of my great grandchildren or something will have an opportunity to be a singer. And here I am now, big black, big lip, big nose me. And I can do what my mother didn't do. And I had those digging. We were digging through my grandfather's things when he passed away in 2012.
Yes.
And I find a picture of my grandfather in the late 50s, early 60s. Him and his friends made a life-size elephant out of paper mache and had my uncle on top of it, and it's one of the carnival floats. They were one of the first people that started doing carnival in Antigua. And I'm like, Mommy, you didn't tell me that. She's like, of course. But now I'm looking back, and I remember the way he made suits, like sculpture. He made men's suits. So this is an artist who decided, okay, can't be an artist. I'm 6'7". I'm black as midnight. I'm from the Caribbean. I better come up with a way that I can funnel this art. So he became a tailor who made men's suits. And
That is
I'm thinking to myself,
amazing.
and I see the cup too. I see that cup. I like the cup. I like the
Oh
cup.
yeah, because I was gonna bring that up as well too. When I seen this, I gotta bring this up closer. When I walked into the gallery, this is the first painting that like touched my whole
Okay,
soul.
okay, okay.
And I don't, it just feels alive. Like it feels, because I love music. I absolutely, music is my therapy before I actually got to see a therapist. Uh, music was
A
my
lot of
therapy.
us, a
And
lot of us,
something,
girl.
something about this. Can you share a little bit about?
Well, this is my piece. Did this piece. It's probably almost 20 years old, that painting. I did a series of paintings that's called Blue Train. Actually had an album called Blue Train. There's Blue Monk. He had an album called Blue Monk, and there's one other in that series called Blue Day, which is Billie Holiday because she was called Lady Sings the Blues. Everybody knows about it.
Yes.
But that particular composition you have there is John Coltrane, the young man, thinking about
Let me
John
show
Coltrane,
everybody.
thinking about John Coltrane, the elder. So
This is
the
so
face looking
beautiful.
directly at us is him, the young man, without the saxophone in his mouth, and the face looking away and into the future with the saxophone is him, the mature John Coltrane that became the god of jazz, who became the person who he was trying to sync the idea of sonic sounds with emotions. Like he was studying like you see the Swami playing and he got the snake dancing. Coltrane,
Yeah.
he was studying those tones and what tonality does to the chakra. And this was what, like when you hear his famous song "A Love Supreme," you feel like you're lifting. Da da do dee, do da do dee, do da do dee, do da do dee, do da do. And he's doing that on purpose. Like he literally, I felt it. I listened to it and felt the lift. But he literally did that mathematically on purpose. The tones that he combined were to make you feel like you were experiencing a love supreme, a love supreme, a love supreme. Love supreme, which is the idea of God, which is a love supreme, which is perfect love. And to hear people like that, like their jazz musicians are my inspiration. Like the way they jump past barriers and they're not afraid to improvise and invent like the new road. That
Yes.
I translated that into my painting years ago in college. So I love jazz musicians. So I did that, man, I think maybe 98-ish maybe, or in the early 2Ks, I did that painting of Train. So that's young Train thinking about old Train.
That is
Yeah.
so beautiful, and I love
Thank
it.
you,
Yes,
thank you, thank you.
I always, when I come live, I always have my coffee because me and my grandmother used to have conversations early in the morning, and she'll have her coffee, and I'll have my little cup. This is
Yeah.
like so sentimental to me to like have a conversation, have my cup of coffee, and I feel like I'm keeping her spirit alive,
Yes.
and energy
Yes.
never dies. And that's the beautiful thing about this conversation right now. Yes, we can definitely say, unfortunately, you are really right now at your brother's repast,
Mm.
but he gets to live on through you and this energy that
Absolutely.
you are depicting right now to
Absolutely.
me and to the audience that's on here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Blessings, blessings to you and your family, his
Thank you,
wife,
darling.
his
Thank you.
children.
Thank you,
Oh my
darling.
goodness, like
Thank
that,
you, darling.
that is
And
amazing.
that's truly the spirit that everybody in this house is moving in. My brother was living his and it sounds cliche now, but my brother was really perpetuating his very best idea of life. He was definitely putting his very best foot forward. He was definitely he was amazing. It was amazing to watch. You know, I said that I wrote a poem. It was called the poem. I didn't want to write this poem, but he really embodied that idea of a black man looking at himself and trying to invent himself and create the very, very best version of himself. And realizing that it was every day in and day out and day in and day out process that he was going to have to do to get from this point to that point, and to watch him do it. You know, this is what sustains me now, because I you realize that, well, losing my sister 2 years ago taught me that you have no idea
I don't
once
know.
how she opens, how long you got before that thing, you know what I'm
That's
saying?
it. Right.
Yes, your ride is over. And it kind of changed this perspective I have now, because I spent the last 24 months trying to contemplate, well, why did my sister only get 45 years? You know what I mean? And now my brother got 42 years. So now, instead of what I did we lost Nikki, I'm taking it from a different angle, and being like marveling at the things that my baby brother did in 42 years. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like, wow. You know what I mean? Like, wow. And you know, he looked like a black man, and he had a Caribbean man's sense of who he was, and he didn't take trash from anybody. So he was public enemy number one. And it's still living on the crosshairs of America as America's favorite person to blame. He was excelling beyond words.
I
You know
think
what I'm
that
saying?
is
So to watch
absolutely
that, absolutely,
amazing.
and to watch my nephew, watch the way my nephew stands, and to watch the way watch the way his body reacts when you talk about his father. I know my brother imprinted on him, so I know that I see already the type of man that my nephew is becoming. I can watch it. I mean, he's already at 15 years old as tall as I am,
You
which
can
is
see
amazing.
it.
But my brother was 5'9". My brother was little. My brother was a little cat, a short cat. Maybe not five, maybe about 5'10". Let's give him 5'10". But my nephew's already at 15. He's already gonna. You can see he's gonna be a very, very tall young man, and a very focused young man. And I'm proud of my brother. I'm proud. So that helped
Oh,
me a lot.
that's
And
awesome.
whereas I guess I wondered, because we planned this before we got the news.
Yeah.
If I would be able to, if I knew when I woke up this morning that I wanted to, because I wanted to. I don't think it's any other way. Like I have white on, because it's
I
to
didn't
me
even
it's a
question
necessity.
it. I
Yeah.
think that right before I spoke with him, I was like, no, we're already here.
Yes.
I didn't even message you and say, hey, you think you're okay? You got this?
Yes.
I just already feel like your energy speaks. I got this. I can do
Yes.
this.
Yes.
Like
Yes. Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
yeah, you're like, it just feels like huge to me. Like your
Yes.
energy, your frequency that you give off.
Yes. 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 Well, Daddy, I just posted it a little while ago. Daddy and I are outside, and I love my father tremendously. He's so strong. Um,
You have both
said,
parents. What a
yes,
blessing.
he said in the middle of the conversation, Daddy says, you know, pain is what brings us together. You know what
Yes,
I'm
and
saying?
that's true.
And it's true and sad and true and sad and true
And,
and sad and
and
true.
but
You
it's
know what I'm
true.
saying? Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I wish it wasn't that, but it is. You know what I'm saying? And when you hear your 73-year-old father say that, you know what I'm saying, reflecting on losing a daughter 2 years ago and now a son,
Mm,
you know, it takes on a whole nother kind of thing. And it went right through my filter of, okay, what is it going to take you this way? Is it going to take you that way? And then not cliche or go get him tiger kind of way, but
mm-hmm.
realizing that, man, look, I don't know if I got till 12 midnight tonight. You know what I'm saying? And no, don't terrify yourself, but understand that you should be purposed, man. You got to be purposed, and
No, I always say live in the moment. We
yeah,
have to
man,
live in the moments.
you better, and I don't mean frivolously. I don't mean go to the bar and drink as much as you can. I mean your best self. What does your best self look like? And you should attempt it every day. Every day you should attempt
Absolutely.
that thing and attempt that thing. You know, I mean, another reason that I realize I'm a storyteller. Like people tell me who I'm now. I can say I'm a jele. Jele is a Senegalese word for a griot.
Jelly.
Griot is a storyteller. That's who I am. I'm a
Okay.
storyteller. I tell stories. I use acting. I use paint. I use words. I use song. I use dance. But I tell stories. That's my job, and that's what I now understand that I am that person. I am an entertainer and a performer, but in the process of doing that, like the idea of the jelly or the griot, they were actually literally the person. If you read Roots in the beginning, the first couple of chapters when Alex Haley sets up the African village, one of the main things he sets up is the idea of the jelly. The jelly was the historian. The jelly went from village to village, from area to area, telling all our folklores and our stories, all of our proverbs and our disciplines and
Passing
our
them down.
mores. You know what I'm saying? All of these kind of
Mm,
things, and they were passed. And what the jelly did, so that it wasn't boring, he would do something clever for the kids, and he would sing for the women. He would do something masculine for the men. But there was something that he did so that everyone he left that village, everybody in that village got his message. And so that's what I am. I'm a Jaleh. And that's
I
why I realized I was given all of these tools. And for me, they become these tools. You know what I'm saying?
thank
So
you.
that you use you pick them up, you have your toolbox. And that to me, it's a weird segue to jumped in, but as a person, as a cat who has older kids now, people ask me, well, what's the gift? I think it's about tools. Because you can tell your kid about the hole that you dropped in and how
Yes,
you built and about the
that's
ladder you
true.
used to get out of it. And then they go
Uh,
drop in their hole, and their hole is deeper than your hole, so your ladder ain't gonna work. So rather than tell your kid about the hole, teach them how to make ladders. Because they're gonna
oh
fall in
my
some holes. You
gosh.
dig what I'm
Oh,
saying? When they
I'm
run up
still
on
falling in some holes.
exactly. You see what I'm saying? And the skill set is if somebody would have told us how to make ladders, we would have realized a long time ago, oh, okay. All right, so if I do this to there, then
Hmm.
I get out. I'll be out. Instead of going sitting down at the bottom thing going, so teach them to make ladders. Because when they make ladders, it don't really matter the size of the hole. They just come up, they understand that it's about having the skill to make the ladder to get out the hole. And I learned that the hard way. You know what I'm saying?
He
And
says, I
all of us
love
do.
the method. Oh, I've learned most of the things that I
Yes,
learned as
yes.
an
Yes.
adult the
Hard
hard
headed,
way.
the hard headed way. Let's put the other word in there that we like to jump and leave out. The hard headed way. It ain't just the hard way. It's the hard headed
The
because
hard headed way.
it ain't like people weren't telling you love you. It ain't like, and that's the other thing. Like Marley says it. And if you're a Christian and you go into the Christian Bible, in Jeremiah talks about Jeremiah's lamenting to God about how he's so tired of mankind. And God says, be still and know. I will put myself into every man's heart, and they will know. And we call that our conscience. And it's Bob Marley said, in everybody's a little voice, and in every moment there's a little voice. And when you come to that place, if you're still and you listen, you heard a voice. And I
Oh
know
my
I
God.
did. Every time the voice was.
This conversation is so amazing, and I can't believe our hour has gone by. Our hour has gone by so fast. That's the beautiful thing about conversation. Time doesn't
Yes,
exist.
it is. Yes, it is.
It's
That's why I
man-made
prefer these.
anyway.
Well, that's why I prefer these. I've done a lot of these, and the ones that I
Hmm.
the ones that I lose track of time, which is what I enjoy, because then I don't feel like I'm I'm on the hot seat. Other
Yeah.
ones that are just conversations.
I
Yeah,
love conversations, but I always
absolutely.
have to do my due diligence. I have an amazing sponsor. Oh my God, you guys! I have an
Mhm.
amazing sponsor, 10K Cards. Shop 10,000cards.com. Did you get your card?
I did, and they're awesome, and
Oh my
and
gosh.
I'm very awesome. Thank you,
You,
10K Cars. 10K Cars is the one that said they lived in Antigua for some while, right?
yes, yes.
Very cool, very cool, very cool.
Synergy. I'm telling you,
I'm
I
telling you,
believe that I connect with good people.
no. Here's another one. There is, and I've been researching it for over 10 years. There is no word in any indigenous language for coincidence.
No, it's not
Indigenous
even.
people, Earth people, when something happens, it's because it's supposed to happen.
It's supposed to
In no
happen. So
language.
shout
Yes.
out to 10K Cards. Thank you
Yes,
so
look at them
much.
sending us all the Antiguan flags down there. Yes, 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 yes. Look, see, we even get the 365 beaches, one for every year. They know, but
That
don't
is
worry.
so amazing. You know, I had got so many messages because for some reason on certain lives, people get kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't stop the conversation whatsoever. Our conversation continues to go on. I
Absolutely
was
not.
like, I got a
Absolutely.
strong black king on here, right? And they were trying to kick my people off, but they were able
Yeah,
to get back on. So thank you so much. Thank you, 10K Cards again.
absolutely.
I like to leave the conversation with not even just a sentence because you've given us so much of your knowledge and wisdom with us. But if you can share, I love words,
Mm-hmm.
one word that comes to mind that you can share with us that
A word,
I
just
can
one
be like,
word.
just one word, not even a sentence, just one word.
You.
You. And we are
You.
going to leave it at that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's say thank you
Thank you,
so
sis.
much,
Thank you, sis.
Iyaba,
Thank
Ibu
you.
Mandingo. Please go and follow him because he has some amazing merchandise. I actually had showed one earlier. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Look at this. I usually try to show it, but then you were able to share the story. So if you missed the story, guys, I'm going to post this later. Go back
Yay.
and listen to the story because the story is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Thank
Thank you,
you,
sis. And I'm
everybody.
not,
Thank you.
I don't want to get off here without saying I'm very, very
Yes.
proud of you. I'm very, very proud of you. I'm very, very proud of you.
Thank
Very proud of you. Get that
you.
girl. Iron sharpens iron. Iron sharpens iron. Go ahead, sis.
Yes.
Love, yeah?
Absolutely. All love. Love, light, and energy is what I love
Yes.
to say. Thank
Peace.
you.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Be well.